What's up, Ashley? Thanks for hanging out with me today. We've worked together for, I don't know, 5 months now, maybe 6 months. I'm not counting, but anyways, something like that, right? And I've seen, during my visits at the showroom, I've got to see like you meal prepping and things like that, right? You got some delicious meals, set up and ready to go. You seem to be very fit. You and your boyfriend spend a lot of time, at the gym. So just really kind of want to dig in a little bit more into your health and fitness journey and kind of just get to know you a little bit more. Um, so Ashley, were you always into health and fitness?
Yeah, definitely. So I want to say I started when I was about 14. So, I was pretty overweight as a kid, so kind of fluctuated. Just from like my family living with different members of the family growing up. So I want to say when I was 14 is when I genuinely decided to really focus on my health and wellness. So I started just with the gym doing cardio, swimming, playing basketball, just being into sports. And then I want to say when I reached around college or so is when I was like, hey, weightlifting's pretty fun. I enjoy it more than cardio for sure. So yeah, I want to say that's where I really indulged into my fitness journey, focusing on health, wellness, eating good, fueling your body with the right things, um, whether that's supplements, um, turkey beef every day, things like that. So
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome to hear. So, I mean, as kids, we all get some. I mean, I can't talk about your parents, but I could talk about mine, and maybe they'll be on the podcast one day, and then I'll drill them. I'll drill them. I'll say, why'd you? No, I'm just kidding. But there's a lot of bad habits that our parents could pass down onto us as children. And one of mine was, my parents would, or my dad, we would always go to the gas station, and go get a bag of Doritos and a Diet Coke, and some Dibs ice cream, those little circle chocolate,
the
Dibs.
Slurpees.
Yeah, so and that was just, kind of a, hey, we got another job done. We done another job. Let's go to the gas station, grab us some snacks or whatever. And so all that's cool moments, to hang out with your dad. But it's also created some bad habits, from gas station food. Thankfully I never ate gas station sushi, um, but I did
Uh-huh.
eat a lot of gas station food back in my time. So with that being said, you said at 13, 14, you kind of kicked into gear a little bit and started getting more into your health and fitness. What do you feel, at that young age? I know that we don't really think um, all very purposefully at that point, but what do you think kind of got you to, that overweight stage at 13, 14?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, my parents, they're very different cultures. My mom is Asian. She grew up in a very small village in a small town in like Southeast Asia. So she didn't have the same diet as my dad growing up. Just very much just straight rice, fish, things like that. And then my dad, he grew up on like mostly American food. He grew up on like in Boston around the East Coast area. So his diet was vastly different. So I lived with my dad for a good portion of my life, and then in my teenage years, I lived with my mom. So during growing up, from maybe like ages 6 to 12 or so, that's when he would kind of teach me the habits. It was just him for a while, so we would do the same thing. We would, go to the gas station, get Slurpees. Friday nights we'd, get, cakes, things like that. And as a kid, like you mentioned, it's like I'm not really focusing on, my health that much. Like I love to play outside. I don't like being on my phone. I just wanted to play outside with my friends. But just the diet, I didn't really think how much it would really take a part of my life. So when I started living with my mom around 13, 14, is when she kind of put it into me, you're so young, you have the ability to go out and not feel like your bones are cracking at like in your like 40s 50s. So yeah, I want to say that's the habits that my dad created, even though he just wanted to like feed us as kids. That's kind of created that domino effect habit to where I thought it was normalized. But So eventually, with my mom, she kind of was able to guide me to the right health journey, just whole foods, meal prepping. 14, I was my mom worked graveyard shifts, so I would make lunch, breakfast, dinner, go to the gym every day, and that kind of sparked my interest in just my overall health and wellness journey.
Gotcha. Awesome. Our parents have good intentions, just trying to make memories and hang out and feed and give more than what they had, so kudos to them, but little do they know sometimes it creates some bad habits. But also, so again, 13, 14, did you have any struggles? I mean, what you said, you seen your mom and she was kind of a little bit more into just health and wellness, right? Maybe was there any other influence outside of your parents that kind of made you think, oh, hey, you know what, I need to probably do something differently than what I'm doing right now, or I don't feel good the way that I am right now? Is there any other influences that kind of drove you to that thought process?
I want to say, I guess it's a stereotypical answer, but reaching high school, middle school, kids are judging you, they're telling you things, and then you just like kind of had this awakening, like, you know, life shouldn't just be about like enjoying everything. There has to be discipline, and I can't just like eat anything I want and do anything I want because it just feels like there's no challenge in life, and at that age, I'm just kind of trying to find myself, like hitting that puberty age, I guess. I want to be able to play sports with my friends without feeling like I'm out of breath all the time. I want to be able to run a mile under 10 minutes. And I set those goals because I wanted to feel better about myself. And not only just physically, but mentally, it changed my whole perspective. At 14, my friends were saying, "Oh, you make dinner? What do you cook? Like chicken, spinach?" And to me, that just became my normal. So I want to say, um, just definitely like outside influence, like friends, and just my own realization. Social media, I was about like maybe 2017 when I was a freshman in high school, and from there, just noticing myself change, just internally and mentally. It's like, wow, this doesn't have to be the dread I thought it was going to be. So I was able to really just lock in and be able to find myself, and I became so much happier. So I just want to encourage that to my friends, my peers. Um, so, but yeah, I would say that's my most significant outside influence.
So what I mean, how did you process all that, right? That 13 years old, we all knew it all at 13, right? But how do you process, like, I'm going through all these, changes, right? My mom, my dad, right? All these things going on in my life. And, now I'm trying to take care of me. I'm trying to do something about my body. But how did you deal with, those outside influences? Maybe it was friends encouraging you, maybe it was other kids, right? Giving you a hard time, right? How did you deal with all those things at that point? Like, did you just like lock in to fitness and that just drove you, or was it a struggle and kind of go back and forth? I mean, how did you deal with that?
I definitely think it was very much a struggle at first, just because as a kid, growing up, I want to be able to like feel good about myself and to look back at my years and not just be like, oh, I was just sitting and playing video games all day. So it was definitely a struggle. But what I want to say, what definitely made me finally process and realize what I need to do is just, I guess, like I mentioned, to have a realization that discipline is where you will find true happiness. If I'm receiving everything I like and, you know, doing everything without having that, like, okay, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? Is it for others? Is it for me? At 13, I'm still very immature. I'm a young teen. I'm doing stupid things, but at the end of the day, like I saw the longevity of it, and especially my mom coming from like a very small town in Asia, coming from there to the U.S. and everything, the struggle she went through, living with her definitely changed my perspective on life. And so, um, her telling me, you're young, prioritize your health. Think about you're doing this for yourself, not for others, but for you is what really made me think like I'm so fortunate to live in a situation where I have an encouraging parent that is willing to help me through with finding the good diets, helping me with the gym. In my first year of high school, I have to walk to the bus stop. It's 3 hills up, and then the gym is another 2 hills up. So after school, come back down to my house, and then walk another 5 hills up back to the gym. So it was challenging, but just being able to be like, I'm doing this for myself, and I'm gonna feel so much better in the future is definitely what made me think like I'm doing it right.
So, uh, what would you, if you could go back and talk to 13, 14-year-old Ashley, what would you tell her for, or any other 13, 14-year-old right now that's kind of at that same point, what encouragement, what words would you give them?
Yeah, I would definitely say if I were to look back at myself or any other 13, 14-year old going through the same weight struggles, I would tell myself, people are going to tell you anything. They're going to be judgmental, whether you're skinny, overweight, tall, short, whatever the case may be. So people are just going to say things to say things. So at the end of the day, what do you want and how is this going to benefit you in the future? It may be hard, but do it, make it enjoyable. There's some days where I don't want to do cardio. I don't want to do an hour of cardio, but I still do it because I know it's definitely going to make a huge change in my life. Just being consistent with it. So I would encourage, kids of the same age at that time to just take the time to find yourself and don't feel pressured from everyone else doing different things because everyone's lives are different. So if you have the time, find discipline, even if it's for 20 minutes of, running, jogging, whatever it is. Um, be able to do things for yourself. And when you find that independence, it's going to bring you such a long way. It's helped me so much. So, um, but yeah.
That's some good advice. Some of us need it later on in life too, because it's the same really, right? You need to choose you and take care of you regardless of, your what else is going on around you. Choose to be 1% better every day, right? And for you. You can't fill nobody else's cup if yours isn't filled, so that's important. Um,
Exactly.
awesome, health transformation at 13, 14 years old, learned some new habits, created some discipline. What's it been like since then? I mean, I guess where are you yeah, where are you at right now, and what's been kind of the journey from 13, 14-year-old Ashley till now?
Yeah. In terms of my health and mental health, I want to say every day is just progression one by one, one step at a time. Um, I say when I started the gym, it was mostly just cardio. And although I felt fulfilled, I was just getting super skinny. And I felt happy because I thought that was the norm. That's how I was supposed to look like. Because the social media, they tell women, you have to be skinny, you have to be this, you have to be that. And eventually, you know, being skinny wasn't fulfilling for me anymore. And I told myself, you know, I'm almost 5'10". My dad has given me nice genetics for my height and my muscle group. So I want to be able to use it. So, I wanted to learn to be strong and find another way to be healthy that makes it more exciting than just going on a run or doing something like that. And although there's nothing wrong with just preferring cardio over weights, I wanted to challenge myself even more to um, to build myself. Going through college, it was just me. My parents, they were doing their own thing, and I just lived by myself with friends, with you know, in dorms, things like that. So it was a challenge because I felt very much by myself for those 4 years until I met my boyfriend. But definitely, while being alone and feeling like my family isn't there for me as much, I felt like, what's another way where I can just feel better and, not resort to different things. My friends, they're going to parties, they're doing, whatever we do in college, which was fun for the time being. But getting closer to the end of college, it's like, I want to be able to find another goal in myself, not just, oh, and graduate college, what do I do now? Got to find a job and, save money and all that. Like, I want to find a place that is fulfilling for myself. And so I started to go into weightlifting, and I found it was so fun, and just being able to, deadlift over 300 pounds and benching and all that stuff. Like, although some people may not think it's very feminine, um, I once again do it for myself, and I found that to be beautiful for myself and my fitness journey. Um, so when I, discovered RitFit and what RitFit stands for, and working for a company that stands for the same thing, I felt like, I was just overwhelmingly blessed with this opportunity and working with the team I work with. So, um, but yeah, definitely just the aspect of going from cardio to heavy weightlifting was very interesting, but nonetheless, it's been such a fun journey.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, this episode is sponsored by RitFit. RitFit is an amazing company, and like you were saying, Ashley, I mean, this month, what do we, we're going to be celebrating Women's Day at what's it, the a mall near Hollywood, right? And we're going to put all on pink,
Mhm.
everything, right? And basically to celebrate women, and where beauty meets strength, so I mean, I think at 13, 14 years old, you were realizing where does beauty meet strength, and then after college, the same thing. So, and it's funny how, what brought you, at 13, 14, got you kind of to, start to take a different path, regrounded you back later on, right? Hey, rather than going out and continuing to party and continuing to do this and that, what do I choose? Well, that same very thing, right? That you talked about, the discipline and all that, brings you all the way back, and so that, I mean, kudos to you to, finding your true north again. You know what I mean? So, um, what's next for Ashley and her, health, fitness, mental health, kind of all the above?
Yeah, I want to say the next step for my wellness and health journey. Um, I guess for physically, I would love to become more, um, I want to say, what's the word, like agile, to be able to do like a muscle up, or to be able to do 15 pull ups and have that core inner strength rather than just being able to lift heavy. I want to run long miles. I want to be able to run a marathon again and just have that more balance now, because I've been weightlifting and, hitting PRs for the past year, but I'm starting to feel like I want to be able to do cardio the same way I did and prioritize that now. So physically, we've been doing our live, um, and just for about 2 hours lift there. But then after work, um, I go to the gym again and I do cardio for an hour, whether that's an hour on the Stairmaster, running on the treadmill. Um, if I'm feeling different, I'll go on the elliptical. But I felt it to be a lot more fulfilling, and I feel so much like I'm. I want to set better goals now for myself, rather than just being like, I'm going to deadlift 500 pounds today. Like, I'm going to run a marathon instead today.
Yeah.
So, for physical, I would say that. But as for mental, I've started to definitely put the phone down a lot more. I know Lent has also passed by us recently, and my boyfriend gave up sugar. He was able to give up sweets. For me, I decided to incorporate reading more. Um, I was, reading a lot during college, and then after, I just kind of stopped. I don't know why. I just feel like, days are super long, and then at the end of the day, I just want to sleep. So I try to read at least 30 minutes before bed, um, and just mentally be offline. When I need to be, I'll be online, but typically I try to stay away from my phone, playing video games as often. Maybe on a Friday night I will, but every other day I try to prioritize just being more in the moment, I guess.
Yeah. being present, is huge. Something I think, all of us have to learn because, a lot of our generation now, if you look to the past, we look to the past and then we breed, depression. And then if we look too far forward without any type of control, we create anxiety, so if we learn to live in the present and take advantage of where we're at, who's around us right now, what could we do right now to set us up, for the future rather than living in the past or the future. So yeah, no, all great stuff. What has there been anything through your health and fitness journey that has taught you something about yourself?
Yes, I definitely believe um that I found myself to be very harsh on myself during my fitness journey. Um, for example, I would, if I do one thing, like work out for many hours on end, I'll tell myself, you could do more. You can run more, you can lift more, you can lift heavier. And although it's good to encourage yourself to do more, I think sometimes I was doing too much, and I would actually deplete my progress. So I would be like, I'm spamming too much cardio, and then I'd be too fatigued, or I'm lifting too heavy, and things like that. And especially, I've been on a cut since January of this year. So, eating 1,600 calories a day, working out so long, it's like I still need to feel my body correctly. I can't be too hard on myself because if I am, then it's really just going to hurt my health more. So I've definitely learned that about my fitness progress for sure within a long time.
Awesome. Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that comes from anywhere? The constant pressure on yourself, push harder, go more, do this, do that. Do you feel like that comes from anywhere?
I do think it is rooted from um, just like being too online and also just growing up. My sister compared to myself, she was very thin, very basically the opposite of me. And I found myself competing with her and feeling like, she teased me too and, being sisters and whatnot. But I felt like I wanted to be as good as her, even though I didn't realize that I was already good as myself. Growing up in that environment, especially being Asian too, we're kind of seen as to be more thin and to be look a certain way, act a certain way. Um, Especially, growing up in that kind of environment. My mom never really pressured those norms, but my friends, my peers, my other family members, I feel like I would have to fulfill that to be afraid of judgment. So, and comparing myself to not even just my sister, being people online, friends like that. So I feel like that's where it was essentially rooted from until, even just 14, 13, being telling myself, like, do this for yourself. It just felt inevitable to avoid comparing myself. So definitely at 22 now, almost 23, I feel like now I was able to find myself, disconnect myself from being online all the time and, comparing myself to people who have different journeys than I do, are on different paths. Some of these people may have, a lot more time to work out. Some people don't have enough time to work out. So everyone's journey is different. I feel like, being too critical on myself is just rooted from constant comparison, even just from being a kid, from family to growing up and being on social media too much. So, um, but I've learned to definitely not be as critical and take my own pace, I guess.
Yeah, they say that comparison is the thief of joy, and it truly is. I feel, and I think there was one thing that you said that really stood out to me and that I really liked is, I am good enough, right? Myself, I am fine, right? It's me, right? It's so how I know that, maybe it's always a constant, right? We have tendencies, all of us, right? And we have to always constantly reground ourselves in the, I am, right? What do you use to reground yourself and to get back to that? again, I am good enough. I am, happy. I am fulfilled. I am blessed. I am, right? All these things, right? What regrounds you?
Yeah. I want to say, just finally, how would I word this? Like you said, the comparison is a thief of joy. So to be able to come back to myself, recollect myself, and tell myself at the end of the day, after my final workout of the day, after running for like 45 minutes and doing my things, I tell myself, it's so hard. The whole 45 minutes, I'm like, I could just stop right now and just not work out. I just tell myself, at the end of the day, you're never going to be the same as others. You can see people online, you can see your sister and be like, wow, like I wish I could, be naturally just thin and or have natural just like muscle and not work as hard. But I tell myself, discipline is it's what's going to make me happy, make me feel fulfilled, and to be able to just do this for myself, and seeing my future self, um, and knowing that I'm going to make myself happier just by doing this, by taking 2 3 hours out of the day just to consistently work out and keep my health up to par, um, is what's going to make me happy. It's not to impress others. It's not to make my family happy, um, because family's always going to be critical. Friends, they're going to encourage you. Um, just peers, no one's going to see yourself the way that you see yourself. So at the end of the day, it's just me. And I'm going to do this for myself because, um, to recollect and reground myself is to realize at the end of the day, it's just me. And that's what matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And, again, I think that constant, just I am good enough, right? No, we are definitely our own worst critic. When you look in the mirror, when we look in the mirror, right? Oh, I got this thing right here. Oh, I got that thing right there. Oh, this, oh, that wrinkle, right? Oh, those bags, whatever, right? I know I see bags in my eyes when I look in the mirror, but not everybody's gonna see every single little intricate thing about you the way that you see yourself. And we do have to learn to love ourselves and to be kind to ourselves, especially because um, nobody's going to love us as much as we love ourselves. And we don't need to be lovers of selves from that standpoint to where we worship ourselves and all this other stuff, but we should definitely, appreciate, what the gifts that we have, the healthy as our bodies are, appreciate that and all that. So, um, one thing for me that kind of, uh, there's like six pillars that I think of when you talk about regrounding or just kind of reformation or becoming reformed in a new person, right, or whatever else. But you kept saying, right, I just had to realize, I just had to realize, I just had to realize, right, and the first pillar that out of the six is awareness, and just being aware of the current condition, what's going on, right, and being able to say, hey, look in that mirror and say, hey, it is these thoughts are not coming from me, right? I am, good enough. What they say doesn't matter because it really doesn't, right? And the second pillar is really it's release, right? Releasing those things, right? Those emotions, those feelings, those people, right? Out from your realm. And then reflection, really reflect on where you've been and where you're at, and then where you want to go. And then the fourth one is structure, building those things, the path forward, right? What I want to do. I want to be healthy. I want to, right, go to the gym. I want to, right, do all these things. So that's structure. And then number five is reinforcement, right? That, like I said, right, there's always that, back and forth, right? Well, just staying on the right side, keep doing what you're doing, keep following that structure, and then finally, the six pillars. Your new identity, right? Yeah, we can't change, who we are biologically, but ultimately we can, create better habits. We can feel better about ourselves. We can feel better about, the world. We can, right? All these different things. So, but like you said, the first kind of mindset should be, awareness and really where's these things coming from. But Yeah, no, all great, things right there. But anyhow, so we talked about your uh, kind of health and fitness journey growing up, 13, 14 years old, kind of kicked yourself in gear, a lot of, self identity moments, right? To figure out where you're at, who are you, what do you want to be, really kicking yourself into gear. You've had a lot of accomplishments, and I think there's a lot of moments that you can be proud of. Is there any particular moment that you're most proud of throughout that journey?
I would say it honestly has fluctuated a lot. Maybe, because when you're looking in the mirror, it's hard to tell, like, did I lose weight? Did I gain weight? um, I would say maybe halfway through my freshman year of high school, when I lost like 60 to 70 pounds, so much within just a year and a half, 2 year span. Um, I started to look at myself and realized, I'm feeling so much better. Like not even just physically, like oh, I'm losing weight, I'm fitting into clothes better. Just like mentally, the brain fog was just gone. And there was just I want to say one day halfway through my freshman year, like I started to realize like I love myself again, and I was able to recollect that just at 14 years old, being like, wow, this is who I want to become, and I have to keep this up. And going through that for years and years on end, I transferred high schools, went to a different high school, and my gym wasn't as close, so I would walk an hour to the gym, work out for an hour, and walk an hour back, and just consistently. So that's what made me really feel good about myself. But then eventually, when COVID hit and we had to stay home and everything, I had to ask myself, like, how am I going to make this still work? How am I going to exercise? So that was a big moment for me of panic, just like, oh, I can't go to the gym anymore. I have to stay home. I, can't even go to school. I can't do anything. I just have to sit on my laptop and complete my schoolwork. And this was my senior year of high school, so I wasn't able to um, be able to experience how the other students before me were able to experience like how they did when graduating and everything. So that was another big moment of me where I was very scared, but eventually I was able to just figure it out, do at home workouts, do some laps in the yard. We had another like trail in the backyard that I would just walk to. Um, and then lastly, another big moment, I guess, was when I was in college. Um, I was in a 5 year relationship um, during from like high school to college, my first year of college, and it felt like a long time because it was a big portion of my youth. Um, we broke up. He broke up with me. I was of course devastated. I was crying every day. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. But then just like you mentioned, the awareness and just telling myself I can't stay in this state forever. I um, you know, after not eating for like 2 weeks, a bagel, my friends would have to help force me to eat a bagel. I have to get myself back up and I have to, just let it go because, there's so much life ahead of me. And I got back in the gym and I built muscle, lost weight. And then that brain fog once again went away and I found myself again. So those are pretty big moments for me in the past 7 years or so, 7, 8 years. And each segment of those definitely has changed my perspective each time on myself.
Awesome. So Ashley, the overcomer, it sounds like. I mean, really, really proud of all the, times where you've, accomplished and overcame, right, adversity. And you should be proud of those moments, and that I think even goes to say even more, right? You are, good enough. You have overcome, and we are overcomers, so that's definitely, something to be proud of. And to have that, those routines, those disciplines, those things that's going to keep you grounded, those were all, I think, important to have to be able to have those moments to overcome. So a lot of good things have happened in order for you to get to where you're at, I feel like, right? Kind of the journey, that journey from being 13, 14 has helped you, overcome other obstacles. Does that sound right? Or
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Perfect way to put it.
awesome. And then, so if somebody's watching right now, going through, again, I think we said, hey, talk about Ashley when she's 13, 14. But if somebody's going through any one of those scenarios right now, and they're watching, I mean, obviously your story is inspirational. You have overcome a lot, and persevered a lot. So what would you share with those that would watch this and say, hey, I relate to Ashley at 13, 14, 16, 18, 19, 21, right? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Um, I would definitely tell them to um, not be as hard on yourself, um, to be patient with yourself, and to not feel like you have to fit societal norm because, like I mentioned, no one's going to be completely happy or about yourself or just like super critical or people are going to judge you regardless whether you're any body type, you know, um, male, female, whatever the case may be. Um, listen, you can't feel like you have to listen to others to build yourself. You have to listen to yourself and what you feel like is most beneficial for yourself to build yourself. Building those healthy habits, blocking out those words, people saying, oh, you have to be skinnier, you have to be more muscular. As a man, you have to be muscular. As a girl, you have to be skinny. I didn't listen to any of that. I told myself, you need to do what you feel like is best for you in order to achieve that your genuine happiness. Although happiness may be subjective for others, to not feel like you have to fit into everyone. How they view themselves is completely different from how they view you. So yes, definitely don't be hard on yourself. Be patient. Find the good habits in life. Surround yourself with the people that encourage you rather than feel like, oh, I have to be with the pretty girls because I want to be pretty, or I have to be with the muscular guys because I want to be muscular, and build yourself around that friend group. No, the people that will genuinely love you and care about you may not always be the same as you, may not always look like you and everything. Surround yourself with the people that will love you and encourage you. Um, because at the end of the day, you are yourself and you know yourself the best out of anyone else. So whether you want to be muscular, you want to be skinny, you want to be a millionaire, whatever the case may be, um, you have to listen to your intuition and yourself and um, don't feel like, you know, others have full authority over you because they don't. It's you and find what makes you feel fulfilled and happy.
They're great words. I'm almost done with the questions here.
No
So,
worries. It's
uh,
fun.
but I do want to know that, I think as we go through the process of life, and not just in fitness and health, right? Just the process of life in general. We learn some core values. Some things start to become important to us. And, my question to you is, what traits, what 3 or 4 traits, do you feel that you have, um, now, I don't want to say acquired, but have taken upon yourself to say, these are the 3 or 4 traits that I feel are important and I will not move off of them for nobody, right? Those things that are you stay true to as a human, as a person, as, that overcomer.
Mhm. Great question. Um, I definitely would absolutely put persistence, just perseverance. Um, there's a lot of days where it's hard, it's difficult to continue moving on, um, and you know, you don't feel good. You want to stay home, you want to relax, or and just skip the gym that day. Um, of course, there's limits to everything. Don't push yourself to where you're about to pass out, but persistence is what has guided me, not just physically, but definitely mentally as well. Prioritizing my sleep, prioritizing my hobbies, um, feeling like, I'm doing what's best for myself and my future. Um, so definitely persistence. Um, Secondly, balance. Balance is very important to me. Um, whether it's family, friends, significant other, just the balance, to make time for my family, to make time for my friends, to make time with my boyfriend, to make time for the gym, to prioritize those things, to prioritize anything like that, work, school, those things, finding that balance and that time management has helped me significantly, um, from when I first started my fitness journey, uh, till now. Because I feel like any year before, when I was 12, I was just a kid and I was like being silly and not thinking about these kind of things. But once I hit high school is when I had these things about myself where I need to think about balance, to make the people in my life know that they are heard, and to listen to them and be present within that moment instead of just falling all onto school, falling all onto uh, my significant other, or falling all into my family. Balance has been the key to my mindset that has kept me at peace, um, and has helped progress with my journey of life. Lastly, I want to say the third trait that I have for myself, um, would be, my goodness, um, like I said, persistence and balance. And I want to say possibly either just keeping peace with myself, or um, just finding, yeah, I want to say peace, because I have suffered through chronic anxiety. It's affected my school life, my work life, everything like that, family life, friends, significant other. So I want to say I keep myself mostly grounded by keeping that peace within myself, not to overshare with, like, random strangers I meet at the club, or so wherever I go, outside at the mall, um, just telling them, you know every little detail about myself and my family and
Not
everything.
everybody deserves that, right?
Exactly. Um, like a sales associate at like a clothing store, they want to know, everything. Oh, so how's your family? How's this? It's like, I don't know you, lady. But to find that peace within my soul has helped me calm my mental health struggles going through life. There's so much ahead of me in life, but yes, I would definitely say, the persistence slash perseverance, the balance, and keeping my peace. Spending that time with people I care about. Um, not posting on like social medias anymore as often. Just keeping myself away and enjoying life again, and not just, texting, playing games, and that falls back into balance as well, I guess. But yes, I would definitely say those are my big three that make me who I am.
Awesome. One of my favorite out of those three is balance because with balance, you can't put everything about you into one thing and then begin to find your identity in that one thing. And that's really important to, not lose your identity in, somebody else, something else, right? You need to be authentically you. Whether that's good enough for anybody else, it doesn't matter. It's authentic to you and you are good enough. So, and then Ashley, I just wanted to kind of circle back real quick on, you started you to get connected with RitFit, and they represented some things to you. So if you could just touch on that real quick. I mean, this is your story to share, right? So I just want to understand you know, what did RitFit mean to you? Kind of along that path.
Yeah, Griffith definitely means so much to me. not even if I, wasn't an employee for RitFit, I still value the brand so much because of its values, its core purpose. It makes inclusivity very prominent in the fitness community. I feel like a lot of people in the fitness community, they focus just like on aesthetics. They like who's the biggest, strongest guy in the gym, things like that. It just builds a very, I guess, a toxic environment because it creates a standard for that everyone feels like they have to follow. Because fitness doesn't mean just who's the strongest guy in the room. It means who's consistent, who loves themselves, who willingly builds themselves to make themselves feel good. I feel like RitFit definitely emphasizes it's inclusive for everyone. The equipment that RitFit builds is for um, any body type, like anyone who's in their fitness journey, whether it's a beginner, advanced, someone who's advanced. Um, they emphasize that fitness doesn't just have to be for those who can deadlift 5,000 pounds. It can be for anyone. Um, and I love that they definitely emphasize and encourage women too. Um, Growing up, there wasn't a lot of women in the fitness community that I could really look up to. So I made that in myself. I was like, I gotta look up to myself, gotta do my thing. But as I've gotten older, there's definitely been an influx of more women, and it's made me just feel so happy because, a lot of girls stay away from lifting because they're afraid of getting bulky, they're afraid of that. But RitFit has definitely made it feel like it's a comfortable environment to be in for women, such as their pop-up event coming up. I love that this is a very big event for us, especially for the women, because a lot of women are scared of the gym. They don't want to go in and and curl and things like that, or they only want to work specific body or not body or just muscle groups. So to emphasize that the gym is for everyone. It's not just for men. It's not just for women. Um,
It's a
RitFit
gym of
makes
your
it
own, right?
accessible. Exactly. That's
A gym of
exactly
your own.
perfect.
Yeah.
So
Um,
I love that.
yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ashley, I think no matter who you said you didn't have somebody to look up to, maybe growing up from a fitness, perspective, and you found that in yourself. But just know that people are always watching, and that there are people that look up to you and your story. And I hope that this podcast, your story gets shared and viewed, and you become that inspirational piece for somebody else. And I know that you already have been for others. So again, you should be proud of your accomplishments and all that. But this is your story, Ashley? So is there anything that you'd like to touch on or share? While we're on here that we haven't touched on already.
Well, firstly, I just wanted to say thank you, Matt. Honestly, it's just been a fun time. I feel like I haven't talked about, my fitness and everything like that in so long. So it feels very refreshing to be able to reflect, I guess. But I want to say, not even just for, you know, women like me, but for anyone, any woman of any age, man of any age that is listening or, hears the story, to just take that, um, I guess circling back to it, to just be patient with yourself. And um, it's been a struggle, growing up, two different households, parents, things like that, family stuff happening, um, and feeling alone a lot of the time because parents are always at work. It's just you, your sister, and our dog. So, and your parents work hard to make the things like this happen. So I'm always very appreciative for them. But it's okay to be independent. It's okay to feel like you're alone during those times. And even though it may feel like, oh, my world's ending, no one hears me, no one listens to me, anything like that. It's okay to have those moments of reflection, but that should also be a motivator to be like, I, what can I do that makes me happy? What can I do that's going to bring me up and feel like um, this isn't the end of the world? family stuff happens inevitably, friends, breakups, things like that. But your life will not end over a breakup. Your life will not end over, an argument with your brother or sister. Finding that reground and that recollection, to just prioritize your mental health as well. Um, that comes with physical health too, but yes, prioritize your mental health and um, do things that make you happy in an ethical level. Don't go rob banks. Don't steal money and all that stuff. But do things that will make you feel fulfilled and help you find yourself. Um, because it's never too late to find things that you love and um, enjoy life. So yeah,
It sounds like all that, really means a lot to you, and it comes from the heart. So, I appreciate you sharing, that with us, and, your entire story with us. Appreciate your time. It's been awesome to get to know you a little bit more. And yeah, I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate your time. And we'll be seeing you at that pop-up event here in a few days and celebrate, women. And I'll be over there setting up equipment. So, and then all the women could help the women over there. So, anyways, anything else, while we got a couple minutes left, is that we could end this now, or if there's anything else you got?
I would just say, yeah, I'm super excited for the pop up event. I can't wait to see you guys and all just vibe, have a great time. It doesn't even feel like, I'm like, oh, I have to go to LA and drive there. It's like, I'm super excited. Like, as soon as you brought it up, I was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a great time. um, so, but yeah, thank you so much, Matt, for allowing me to be on this podcast with you and just chat a little bit about fitness and wellness. And lastly, I would just say, I appreciate everything RitFit has done for us. Being a brand, being a part of the RitFit fam, it's been such a fun journey so far, being here since September of last year. And just overall, connecting with the community, connecting with more individuals who love fitness, um, nutrition, well being. And I'm just so excited for the future of RedFit, seeing the new products in the future, the new events, and everything. So I love to be a part of this journey.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'll see you soon. And once again, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you so much, Matt.
We'll see you.